Hey, good morning, guys. Welcome back to DJ's Workshop. Today we're going to be working on the wheel horse tractor. I had an issue the other day when I was trying to do some tilling. It didn't want to start for me, and when I would turn the key, it would turn really, really slow, and then all of a sudden it would catch and start. So I'm not quite sure what's going on with that. I'm going to go ahead and remove the starter today. We're going to disassemble it. Maybe it just needs a cleaning, hopefully. Maybe a bad connection, something like that. So we're going to take it apart, clean it out, and hopefully that fixes the problem. So stay tuned. I'll show you what we're going to do. All right, so I'm going to show you the issue that I'm having. So down in here, this is where the starter is. Actually, this is the starter right here, but you can see the gear drive here. So I'm going to show you what happens when I try to start it. All right, put the clutch in, and we'll turn the key, and nothing happens. See, now you can see it intermittently just kind of kicked out and engaged. See how it's spinning? And then it'll catch. Alright, so I'm not quite sure what's going on there, so we're going to go ahead and remove this starter and we'll get a look inside and see what's going on. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to disengage the power wire from the starter. We're probably going to want to just disconnect the positive battery terminal first, and then we got to disconnect the wires off the starter there. Alright, so the first thing I did was I took the battery out of here just to give us some more room to work. Now the starter has two bolts here and here that hold it in. Obviously it's going to have to slide out a little bit, and I don't know if this drain plug, the oil fill tube is going to be in the way. I may have to unbolt that and get that out of the way. Okay, so let's, pretty sure that's going to have to come out. So let's get that unbolted and get this thing out of the way here. Okay, so that tube is held on with 3 bolts. These are 4mm. Okay, they're just little Allen keys. All right, once we get that out, let's see if this tube will just pop out of here, which it does. Okay, so here's the tube. You can see your oil dipstick there. All right, so that's out of the way. All right, so the next thing will be to get these 2 bolts out of here. Okay, so now we're going to take these 2 bolts off. These are 9/16. Okay, put the 2 bolts out, and here comes the starter. Okay, so that wasn't too bad. I've seen other people doing videos saying, oh, you got to pull the side cover off and all this other stuff, but no, it wasn't too bad. All right, so here's your starter. I mean, it is still engaging, but obviously something's not quite right. So we're going to put this on the bench, and we're going to test it and see how it's working. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to hook up a battery. I have the negative on the bracket. We're going to hook the positive over here, and let's see if this thing actually engages. Okay, kind of is, but you can see also that this isn't going back in like that, like it should. It's kind of sticking in the out position. So I think we're going to take this thing all apart and we're going to clean it out and see if we can get it working properly. All right, so stay tuned. Okay, so there are 2 bolts on the end of this. These are 3/8. So we're going to need to take those off. And then be careful because there's going to be springs and stuff in here. So we want to make sure we take this apart slowly and don't lose anything. Everything should be connected, like the springs have cables on them and stuff that hold them in place, but just be careful when taking it apart. You know, it's all the way out. I'm just going to put it back in a thread or 2 just to hold it. Okay. All right, so carefully pull this out. What I should probably do is mark where this went. And just put a little mark on there just so we know which side it went on. Okay. You can feel the magnets pulling it in. Okay, so I mean, this thing's got quite a few years of use on it. It is a 1974. This thing's probably never been apart. Okay, there is a back cover also. That'll come off. Now, as we can see, there's a spring loose in here, which is not good. So, we'll figure out where that went. Alright, and this back cover should come off also. And you can see inside of there. I don't know if you can see it, but there's the brushes and whatnot. Alright, let's see if we can split that case. Okay, so we'll wipe down all this in here, get that clean. And then you can see the brushes in here. So the brushes still look good. Okay, you can see where the springs go. They go inside of here, like that. This one came out of there. Alright, so I'm going to take the springs out for now, just so we don't lose them. Alright, so two of these are screwed in. One of them connects to this post. I guess both of these two both wrap around and connect to this post here. And then these connect here. Alright, so I'm going to get this thing all cleaned up. We'll put some grease in there. We'll get this surface cleaned up, clean this up a little bit. Maybe see if I can put a little bit of grease on this here. You can see there's a worm gear. There's like a worm gear inside of there, right in here. Okay, so we'll put some grease on that also, because that's probably what's keeping it from pulling back in properly. All right, so we'll get this thing cleaned up, we'll get it back together, and then we'll see how she works. All right, first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to take some acetone and just kind of clean things up a little bit. So like this surface here. I'll just get all this years of grime off of here. Wipe these connectors here. And I want to wipe down all this here. Magnets in here. I'm just going to give them a wipe. Okay, I don't really want to wipe too much in here. We'll just kind of wipe this bearing a little bit. Alright, we're going to end up just putting a little dab of grease in there. So this shaft will spin freely on it. Okay, I'll take a little bit of grease, put it right in that hole there. All right, so these brushes look good. All right, so I'm gonna put these springs back in here. Be careful these things don't go flying around on you. Okay, so we got the springs all in place there. Alright, so these are all going to have to fit back in there. And this is going to be probably the hardest part of this whole thing, is getting this thing all back together. So I'm wondering, let me see, how can we do this? Okay, so those magnets are going to just suck that right into place. Make sure we line those up. Okay, so that's snapped into place. All right, now, tricky part is getting these all back in there. I don't know if you guys have an easier way of doing this. You might want to leave it in the comments below. But somehow you have to hold these all in place. All right, so it's very difficult to get these pieces to stay in place and get this piece slid back into place. So I'm thinking if I can hold these down with a piece of metal, kind of like this, and then I can drop that on there. Then I can just slide the metal plates out. That might work. The only thing is I need 3 hands to do this, which I don't have. All right, so somehow I gotta pull this over more because it's not gonna clear it. Right, that might work, hopefully. And then if we can slip this right down in there, like that. I think that may have worked. Wow. Okay. I gotta try and line this all up here. Okay, so that's pretty much the best way that I could figure to do that, because otherwise you're never going to get those springs to stay in place. All right, let me screw this back together, and then we'll grease up this shaft here, and then we'll give it a shot. All right, I'm going to take a little bit of this grease here, and we'll put it on this shaft. Work that in a little bit. Maybe put a little bit over here. All right, let's try to hook this thing up again and see what happens. Alright, so that's working good now. Every time it's firing right up. So I think it was just a matter of, cleaning it up, putting some grease on there, and I think we should be good to go now. So just saved myself a bunch of money on replacing a starter, so that's good. Alright, let me get this thing installed back in here and then we'll try it and make sure it works. Okay, we got it all back bolted up again. Let's give it a shot, see what happens. I'll take the plug off just so it doesn't start. Okay, put the plug back on. Okay, well I think that solves that problem. We got the starter working again, which is great because obviously we need it to start. Alright, so that's pretty much what's involved. I've had some people comment and say that you need to pull this other cover off on that side to access it, but you really don't. You just need to pull the battery, pull the dipstick tube, unbolt it, slide it out, and then, like I showed, just take it all apart, clean it up, put some grease on there. Like I say, the hardest part is getting those little brushes to stay in place so you can get it fitted back together. I used a couple of pieces of metal to hold it down while I popped it back together and then just slid them out of the way, and it seemed to work. If you guys have a better method of doing that, please comment below. But I hope that helps if you end up doing this. So that's about all. Now the tractor's going to be ready to do some more work and get the garden going pretty soon. So, alright guys, if the video helped you out at all, give a thumbs up, a like, a share. Put any comments you like, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.